Hello, one and all. Hope we're all doing well. I haven't uploaded in a long time on this channel, and even then I only uploaded one video. But we have a doozy. We have a big one to tackle today. Because today we're going to be tier listing every band that I can think of, or at least are comfortable in ranking, from the crankwave scene. We have 65 of them here. There are a few, I think, kind of popular ones that are like Proto Martyr and Met, stuff like that. I think they fall under crankwave, but I just don't know them enough to put them on here. And there's a few, so there might be a few bands missing from this list, in your opinion. But there's 65 of them here, so we got a lot to get through. A few things before we get started, though. Obviously, this is just a bit of fun. I'm not really a music critic. I mean, I listen to punk music. So this is just a bit of fun. And second off, I have a lot more to say about certain bands compared to others. So if I kind of glaze over a band, it's just because I haven't got much to say about them. Okay, so for those who don't know, crankwave is a very loose genre term used to describe bands that sort of fit in the post-punk revival scene since circa 2016, 2017. Basically during the latest culture shift, which definitely started around there. A lot of people point to things like Brexit and Trump, his first presidency, which is absolutely valid. I say that's true. I kind of look at it as the death of Frutiger Aero. And the birth of corporate Memphis. I kind of see it as that's also a pretty good indicator of the culture shift that we are well and truly in. We've been in for probably almost knocking on the door of a decade now. But yeah, I've been following the scenes a lot in a couple years. So a lot of the bands here, I may not have heard their new material as much. Plus, if there are any new bands that have come to surface in the last 2 years, and only in the last 2 years, yeah, they probably won't be on this list. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get started. This list right here is completely just random. I just got a huge collection of photos and just chucked them on this website. What will I be ranking them on? Just vibes, personal preference. Again, we're just having a bit of fun here, so we're not taking anything too seriously here. But yeah, let's just start picking some out. So let's start with one that I do have something to say about. This is actually hard. There's 65. It's like fucking being in an ice cream shop. Where do I even start? Let's start with Yard Act. I have very mixed opinions about Yard Act. We're going to put them in B to start with. I'm already going to get my tinfoil hat on. There's just something didn't feel right about their rise to popularity. I found them from an advert, like way back in like 21, when they just put out their Dark Days EP. I fucking loved them. I loved them back in the day. I remember like signing up to their like newsletter thing and just being shilled merch all the time. Like, you know, when they put out the Overload, they'd be selling bottle openers so that says pour another on it and shit like that. Their rise to popularity was very calculated. It was not as grassroots as it appeared to be. I went to go see them live with Panic Shack, which we'll talk about later, as the opener. Yard Act were not very good live. What is the frontman's name? John Smith? Something Smith? James Smith? Just not John Smith. James Smith. James Smith. His vocals are like, they're really like extenuated. Is that the right word? Kind of like what Saudi does from Fat White Family. At least with him, it's like, okay, they're kind of like, you know, you don't go to a Fat White Family show to see high art, you know. You go there to see some fucking wild shit go down. He was doing this like vocals instead of doing his like, you know, northern ramblings, and it was just kind of shit. The instrumentation, like the band was just kind of playing very sloppy, and I think, you know, they were a band that probably hadn't played many live shows together at that point when I saw them. So yeah, Panic Shack ended up being more fun to watch. Yeah, the crowd was like not dead, but like I think I saw a bigger mosh at like fucking dry cleaning. Yeah, but I still like Yard Act. You know, in a vacuum, The Overload is a really good album. There are some brilliant songs on there. James Smith is a very good frontman. But yeah, there's a few things just off about the band. Yeah, they put out a new album last year or in 23, like My Dream Job. And I've listened to a few songs off that. Trenchcoat Museum, We Make Hits, which were good songs. If it wasn't a hit, they were being ironic. Good way to absolve yourself from any criticism. But anyway, they're an okay band. There's just some weird things about them. And while we're on the topic of that gig I went to, like, we might as well do Panic Shack. They're almost so unbelievably shit and on the nose that they're kind of good. Plus, they're Welsh. They're from all fucking South Wales, mates. I didn't even know they were Welsh until I went to the gig. It's kind of endearing. Like, I remember when I think they were playing Jiu-Jitsu's live. Is that the name of the song? God, they have some shit songs. Like, the Ick is just like, oh, it's so bad. It's just kind of good. I'm gonna put them in C for now, but they'll probably get bumped down to D. Because when the meme wears off, they just make music about nothing. But I get it. Like, if you're a band coming out of Wales, I think what people don't realize is Wales is such an unfashionable place that you can't, like, it's hard to just, like, do anything on merits alone in Wales. So you can, like, with a band like Panic Shack, they have, like, really hammered on the head a market, I guess, or, like, an avenue. I don't know. I'm fucking waffling. Let's move on. We'll return to that maybe later. Let's have a think. Okay, let's do Blanketmen. I don't even know if they're making music anymore. You know, for a time, Blanketmen were kind of like, I'll put them in B for a sec. Just because I picked them up, I might move them all down. Just because they were really early doors Crankwave. And they were kind of for a while like the poster childs of what Crankwave was. Or maybe still even is. Again, it's a very loose term. But, you know, they're skinny southerners, drink red stripe, make talky post-punk music. Like, that is Crankwave in a fucking nutshell. But yeah, I don't think they make music anymore. At least I haven't seen anything from them in many, many, many years. But they were fun. They were an early part of the scene. Yeah, they made some good songs. I'm trying to remember some of them, like Beachbody. I'm Taking You With Me. Yeah, we'll keep them in B for now. Okay, let's go for another one that probably isn't making music anymore, because I definitely know this band is not a thing. And this is a good segue band into two other bands. And that's Dead Pretties. So, in the middle here, we have Ben something. He moved to Feet. There he is. And then on the right, we have Jacob Slayer, who went on to make Wunderhorse, which is actually right here. So let's quickly talk about Dead Pretties. I think they only put out like 3 songs back in the day, and they were really good. What was it? Water, Confidence, and Social Experiment. And it made a surprising big splash, if I remember correctly. I can't really put them that much higher than B. Those 3 songs were great, if not a little juvenile. They're a little bit edgy, but I don't know exactly how old they were when they made the band, but, you know, I'm going to say let them off. So that segues nicely into... We'll talk about Wunderhorse. There's an argument to say that Wunderhorse doesn't really fit under this, but I think just because Jacob Slayer has been out of the scene for a while, and a lot of people listen... If they listen to Crankwave, they probably, like, as a whole, they probably listen to a bit of Wunderhorse as well. He's really good. Well, I shouldn't say he, because it is a full band. They recently put out Midas, the new album, which I haven't had a full listen to. I did listen to a fair bit of Cub back in the day. They might be our first A tier here. They might be bumped down a little bit as we go on with the list, but I'm happy keeping them in A at the moment. And then after that, we have Feet, which frontman by George Harrison. I used to really love Feet, and I do still like Feet. Yeah, they were probably one of my favorite bands from this scene for a while. Their music has been like top of my Spotify Wrapped for like fucking 4-5 years, well, probably like 4 years at this point. Petty Thieving always finds its way in there. Petty Thieving has been a favorite of mine for a while. I'm not putting them in C. Let me put them down here for a sec. But the problem is with the band is that they've just become less and less interesting. What's Inside is More Than Just Ham is such a weird album. It's so weird. I know they hate the name of the title of the album, which is fair. It's fucking clunky. It's weird. But that's kind of the charm of it. With their new album, it's so just like, ugh, it's like white bread. New album, Make It Up, is it? I've listened to it a few times. And, you know, there's some, like, serviceable, catchy songs on there, you know? But, yeah, you could kind of tell the band was going in this direction. After Walking Machine, I think Walking Machine was their last, like, really good effort. Songs like Can't Get In and Change My Mind, like, they're just a little bit boilerplate. Not very interesting. Not what people want to hear when they listen to the band. Like, George Harrison has he kind of writes about the mundane things and makes it interesting. He's a very much an observational writer. That's the thing I'm looking for. And What's Inside is More Than Just Ham captured that really well. It feels almost like a concept album in a way of just like the simple things in life, having a good time. I don't know. But yeah, I just feel like they kind of have slowly started to lose what made them special, especially with the album Make It Up, which has some fine signals, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to put them in B. I'm going to have to drop Dead Pretties just because the band is done. I don't know. Because I really like the band. They've done really good work. It's just their latest stuff has been not very interesting. I don't know. We'll leave them at the top of B for now. Let's get a big one in here. Warmduscher. S tier. Fucking love these guys. I don't think they put out a bad album. I think they've been doing stuff for like 10 years now. But they really kind of hit the scene with Whale City in 2018. I think that's a fair statement to say. So yeah, Warmduscher. Okay, let's have a little talk about them. So Whale City was probably their first big hit of an album. Brilliant album. Some great tracks on there. Standing on the Corner, Big Wilma, 1000 Whispers, Whale City. And then you had Take at Lunch, another brilliant album. The title track, Midnight Dipper, Precious Things was a really good one. And then their new album, Too Cold to Hold, which I have on vinyl, which was a gift from my partner's dad at Christmas. I've given it a bit of a listen. I need to give it a proper listen. But what I've heard so far, great stuff again. I think they're one of the strongest acts in the whole scene at the moment. And you know, with the link that they have to Fat White Family, yeah, I just think they're one of the best ones right now. Okay, let's move on to someone else. Let's go for someone I may not necessarily have a lot to say about. Let's go with Heavy Lungs. They haven't done much in a long time. Actually, no, that's wrong. I think they have put out some singles maybe a couple years ago, last year, which I haven't listened to. Again, they're a band I haven't listened to since like easily 2021. And you know, they were good. They were fine. I haven't got much to say about them though. I'm just gonna put them top of C for now. Alright, let's do our first like just fucking clean cut D tier. Bilk. Bilk fucking suck. I don't even think I need to like explain why. They are still making music, which is insane. I think they literally just come out with an album like recently. Yeah. Yeah, I just checked now. Oh my god, this just tracklist name is just horrendous. Slag, Go, Skid Mark, F Up. Let's I'm just gonna quickly listen to their top song, Go. Which apparently is the top song from this new album. Let's listen to that. Yeah, it's just not good. Yeah, I think CM2 will probably go down as one of the most outrageously bad songs made in this scene. Maybe Panic Shack tops that with something, but at least they're kind of fun. Bilk are just fucking hell no. Don't get me wrong, if you enjoy Bilk, good for you. I guess someone has to. Let's move on. I think I need a palate cleanser after that. Let's go for Opus Kink. Okay, so the thing is with Opus Kink, so I've never seen them live. There's a reason I've never seen them live, because I've seen shows of them live, and it doesn't look... They're a band that is very much a more studio-based band. They have some really good music. You know, their live shows may not be great, but they do have some really, really good songs. Till the Steam Runs Dry is a really good EP. Yeah, no, they have some really, really good songs. Like, I Love You Baby, St. Paul of the Tarantulas, Mosquito, This Train, I'm Going Down to That Hole in the Ground. I haven't really listened to... Are they putting out new stuff? Okay, I just checked now. They put out an EP in 2023 called My Eyes Brother. I've not listened to that. But I have listened to Till the Steam Runs Dry and their newest single. And they're a really, really good band. Studio band. I've seen some of their live stuff, and it hasn't made me want to book a ticket. I can't lie. And that's fine. Some bands are just built for the studio, and some are built for the stage, which we will talk about. I will, however, put Opus Kink in A tier because their music is brilliant. So, Opus Kink, not necessarily built for the stage, in my opinion. A band that is, holy shit, bad. Viagra Boys. I actually think Shrimp Sessions 2, the live album, which, don't get me wrong, has studio mixing, but it is a live album, is fucking brilliant. Probably some of the best stuff they have made, hands down. Half of the recordings from the album just takes the piss of the studio versions. Yeah, if you like Viagra Boys, go and listen to Shrimp Sessions 2. There is a reason that getting that on vinyl is like, you have to sell one of your kidneys to get that. It is so expensive. Because it's such a... People who know that live record, it is so sought after because it's so fucking good. I'm gonna have to put... No, we'll decide order up there. But yeah, easy S tier band. They've been at it for a while. And the frontman, Sebastian, he's just like an interesting guy. I think he's... Well, their music is so good. namely down to how I think he's just lived a very strange life. I think just by looking at him, you can tell he's been around some places, you know. He's a very interesting guy, and their music is just brilliant with the use of like synthesizers and saxophone, and yeah, they just make very exciting, interesting, well-written, every good descriptive word music. And some of it's not fun, which is also great. You know, there's also a lot of introspective and heartfelt stuff in there as well. Yeah, easy S tier. Easy S tier. Okay, let's move on to... Let's do the Cool Greenhouse. I'm gonna put him in A tier. Okay, so Tom, the frontman there, I think that's his name. He has a very, almost like internal monologue way of writing, and it's really good. It's really fucking good. There's a lot of satire in his writing, which I'd love for him to lean into. Yeah, some of the stuff is a little bit on the nose, like Alexa. And even Get Unjaded to an extent. I don't think they've put anything out. I haven't listened to them since like Sod's Toasty, and I don't think they have put anything out since then. I wonder if they're still doing stuff. That is a good point. They may not even be doing stuff anymore. That's what I mean. Like, I haven't been in the scene for a while. Like, I have to check if these bands are still like together, you know? Yeah, he has a very weird and intriguing way of writing and putting things across that just makes their music interesting to listen to. I can see the argument that there's like a certain amount of monotony to the music, but like my favorite band is The Fall, so I'm fine, you know. Who else have we got? Let's do Cola next. So I haven't listened to Cola since like, well, it would have been their 2022 album. I can't remember what that was called. They're just kind of boring. They're kind of just safe-ish, boring-ish band. I don't find them very interesting. I haven't really got much to say about them, but you know, from the songs I do remember, they're fine. You know, if they come up on a post-punk playlist, I'm not going to skip them out of rage. They're fine. Bodega. Bodega's an interesting one. So they kind of come out of the whole New York crankwave scene, which I kind of have a soft spot for because they all have, however much they try and escape it, and I don't think they try and escape it, however much these things are somewhat unrelated. Now this comes with like Bodega and Gustaf, wherever Gustaf is, there it is. And a few, I think there might be like one other. There's always that no wave vibe to the like New York post-punk bands that, you know, it just kind of reminds me of bands like Mars and DNA. Oh, it's like Lydia Lunch as well. You know, just the old no wave scene. You know, so I have a huge fucking soft spot for that scene. So bands like Bodega and Gustaf, as we'll talk about in a sec, I kind of have a soft spot for as well. Naturally, they've been kind of riding the same narrative for a while, which is one that I completely get behind. If it is one that I didn't, I'd kind of be like, all right, you've been talking about the same stuff for like fucking 5-6 years now. But again, it's quite on the nose satire that Bodega fills their music with. Like, I'm definitely more comfortable with the albums like Endless Scroll and Broken Equipment. I think they had a new one out last year, which I have not touched again since not being in the scene, being like super into the scene the past couple of years. I'm sure it's fine. Sure, it's fine. You know, I haven't heard any bad stuff from them, so I'm happy to put them in solid B. We might as well talk about Gustaf as well. They're definitely a lot more weird with their stuff, and I kind of like that. So I'm gonna put them a little bit above. You know, Audio Drag for Ego Slobs is like the album that introduced me to them. Book, I think everyone who knows the band has heard Book. It just kind of sums them up as a band really well. Actually, considering Package Part 2, I think it was, came out last year, I have listened to a bit of that album, and it does resonate with me. I can't remember a load of songs from it, but Produce, the Package Part 2 version, that one sticks with me a lot. That's on quite a few of my playlists. Yeah, they're another solid band. Another solid band that I'm happy to place in solid B. I'm gonna move Dead Pretties up just because the music is... And moving... yeah. I don't really know Heavy Lungs that much. I've had no drive to really listen to them, so I'm just going to jump them down a little bit. Let's do the Murder Capital. It's weird to think of a time when the Murder Capital were like Fontaines DC's contemporaries. Very weird, considering how far Fontaines have come and how I don't think I've heard like anything from the Murder Capital in a long time. Like, I think I haven't consciously listened to them since When I Have Fears, which was... That album's got to be a good 5 years old now. Yeah, with songs like Don't Cling to Life, More is Less, you know. They were absolute crankwave classics back in the day. I remember hearing a song, I don't know what song it was. I was at my girlfriend's house and we had Radio 6 on, and a Murder Capital song came on. Again, I don't remember what it was called. This was maybe like last year and a half ago, and it was fucking bad. Maybe that's what's put me off listening to any more of their stuff. But one thing I can say about the Murder Capital that I do absolutely respect is that they haven't wavered on what they do. We'll talk about Fontaines later down the line. And I know it's kind of it's a little bit fucking brain dead for me to be like, oh, two Irish post-punk bands, I must compare them. But they were back in the day. I'm not saying there was like an arms race between the two, but they were both growing at a similar rate at the same time. Both coming from Ireland, you know. As someone from the UK, that's kind of just how it was seen as, you know. But yeah, I don't think they wavered as much as Fontaines did, but we will talk about them further down the line. So I'm gonna put them top of C. Again, I haven't listened to them in a very long time, and from the few things I have heard, didn't give me the like biggest want to listen to them. You know what, I'm gonna bump, because C and D are gonna be like reserved for very inactive bands and bands I don't particularly like. Like things like Blanketmen and Dead Pretties. Like I love those bands, but they're just not active. So they're just not active anymore. So I can't really put them much higher. Right. Let's move on. Let's do Hallan or Hassan. I'm Welsh. I'm gonna fucking read it. They are a good band, and I think they've definitely found their sound as of late. And when I say as of late, I mean this is probably like 2 years ago. Yeah. So Modern England that came out. I think that was kind of the main song that introduced everyone to Hallan, everyone who knows the band at least. And it's not a very interesting track. It's very like, okay, you're kind of hitting every nail on the head here. Yeah, it's a very textbook bit of post-punk. But then, and you know, that kind of went on for a little while. You know, they were developing their sound, you know, from 2019 through to probably 22. When, for me, it was Money Talks that made me kind of raise an eyebrow and be like, okay, this band is actually something a little bit more than just, you know, playing it by the book. Yeah, Money Talks, yeah, there's some good writing on there, there's some bad writing where I feel like they didn't really know what to say on certain verses, so they kind of just repeated Money Talks a few too many times. But I love the message of the song, and then they released The Noise of a Firing Gun EP, that was good. So, yeah, I like Hallan a fair bit. I'm happy to put them in solid B. I may have to rejiggle this. I'm looking at, like, I think I maybe put the Cool Greenhouse a little too high. And it pains me to put Feet at B, because they're a great band, but they just have been missing the mark the past couple of years. But we'll do a final look over in a while at the end. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about TV Preist. They're a weird one. They got signed, I'm pretty sure, to Sub Pop, which is a decent label to get signed to Sub Pop, after playing like one gig. And I saw them play on KexP, and they were bad. Again, the vocals were nothing like the studio album. It kind of felt like a James Smith situation where a band kind of rises in popularity very quickly, and the band doesn't play very well live. But I do like TV Preist. They have some good songs. Obviously, Press Gang is a fucking banger. It Was a Gift is a lovely song. Those are the two standout tracks for me, and I think for a lot of people from the band. I think as a band, though, they don't get much praise at all. Like, they made some okay albums. I've listened to them, you know, a couple times throughout the years, and I didn't see anything wrong with them. But yeah, they got signed very quickly, made some good studio records. Like, good. I'm not saying great. I'm saying, like, fine. With some good songs. I'm gonna put them top of C for now. They may get bumped up to B. But, again, I think they're a band that's also not active at the moment. You know, and I don't think they have been for a few years now. But they're a fine band. Joe, I'm looking at this list. I'm looking if there's another D tier in here. I think that there's an argument to be made that Wet Leg could go in D tier. Just because of how just their music is just kind of slop. It is just slop, nothingness. Joe, we're gonna get rid of Heavy Lungs just because I don't feel comfortable putting them there. I really actually don't know enough about their music at all to put them on this list, and I feel harsh putting them in C because I feel like they're worth a little more than that, and yeah, I just don't know them. Don't know them enough. But Wet Leg, it's a hard one to place. Like I think they could go anywhere in like this range from B to D, depending on what angle I take. I'm gonna put them like here for now. You know, obviously they have brilliant popularity. They have some real popularity with tracks like Chaise Lounge. What was the other one? What is that? What is that main one? I swear they have one that's like more popular than... Wet Dream. And then other ones like Angelica and Your Mom. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like slop writing. I don't know. There's not much interesting being said there. It's like, oh, sex funny. All right, epic. Which kind of moves me on to a band that I think does, you know, writing about hedonism a little bit better. Or at least I'm going to say perceived hedonism. Which is Amyl The Sniffers. You could argue that they'd kind of just standard punk. Yeah, and we would be more in line with like the Chats and stuff like that. And I did think about putting like the Chats and, you know, like Wine Lips and, you know, that whole scene on here, but that would have just got ridiculous. But I think Amyl The Sniffers is like one close enough to the crankwave scene that, you know, they fit in this list. They're fine, you know. I haven't listened to their debut really, and I haven't listened to their new one. But Comfort to me was probably their biggest album. I don't know how. What sort of numbers they're pulling in now. You know, tracks like Hurts, Security, Guided by Angels. They were good. They're fun little songs, fun little ditties. Yeah, I just don't think I can really put them much above B. Put them like there. Okay, let's do Italia 90. Italia 90. No clue if they're still making music. They're like fine. They're okay. What songs did I used to like? Because again, I haven't listened to them in a long time. They're kind of again, they're kind of like semi OGs of the crank wave scene. And like New Factory was like okay. I think it was a little bit annoying. Borderline. I think Borderline is probably my favorite track from them. Living Human Treasure. I think their latest album. I listened to it a couple years ago or whenever it came out. Not much stuck with me. Again, I think New Factory was the one that stuck with me just because of how repetitive it was, but not in the greatest way. But I have Borderline, their 2021 single, on a few playlists. I don't mind that song. So I'm quite happy to put them middle of C there. What else have we got? Let's do Wooloo. I first found out about Wooloo. I don't remember where I heard his stuff. I think it was the song Scrambled Tricks that got me into him when he released that as a single. And then he released the album Loggerhead. And it was just kind of a breath of fresh air, you know, for the scene. So yeah, you had Scrambled Tricks, South, Times. Really good songs. I think he's put out a new album since then. Has he put out a new album since then? I actually don't know. But yeah, I enjoy a bit of Wooloo. I'm happy to put him like here. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, listen to his album Loggerhead, it's good. DAMEFRISØR, so they're a Bristol band, which I believe have disbanded now. I first got introduced to them, I was in Bristol with my girlfriend, I think in 21, 22. We were seeing Feet play, and DAMEFRISØR opened the set. And I remember them more than I do Feet. It was which one was it? It was the song Too Heavy. I don't know if that has a different pronunciation, but yeah, it was their performance of that song that stuck with me more than anything that whole night. And whenever I listen to that song, it just takes me back to that night so much in such a good way. But I don't think they put out anything hugely substantial. That was definitely their biggest track. Just gonna do some mixing around here. Yeah, I'll put them in the middle of C just because there wasn't an awful lot to go off of. But I believe they've released, I'm not sure when, but they released like a final couple tracks to say like goodbye to the fans and disband the band, so I'm pretty sure they're not a thing anymore. But well, it would have been interesting to see where they could have gone, you know, because their frontman, I don't know his name, but he was a very interesting presence on stage. I remember as soon as the set was done, he just like, not stormed off, but he just fucking like walked off stage. I would have loved to have seen more from them, but that's how it goes. Should I just call this Bilk tier? No, I don't want to give them the fucking satisfaction. Let's do Cheap Teeth. Cheap Teeth, love Cheap Teeth. Put them there. They're quite a safe crankwave band. Can't really go wrong with them. There is a lot of songs that have stuck with me from this band, like obviously Tough Times at the Day Bar, I'm in the Mud, Animal Fat, Ageless, Half the Devil, The Wind in the Rain. Like, a lot of songs have stuck with me from this band who I don't even know are still making stuff. I don't think they are. I don't think they're doing anything anymore. Which again it sucks to see because it's a really good band. And you know, you see with bands like Hallan that started off as just like textbook post-punk and they kind of move into their own it would have been nice to see Cheap Teeth do a similar thing, which they definitely did move into their own. I remember when I listened to them for the first time, I was thinking, this sounds like Nick Cave. And their About section on Spotify says, like Nick Cave doing the conga. Yeah, the frontman does really sound like him, so. Do Crack Cloud next. I think Crack Cloud is an easy A tier, just because they're such a versatile band. It's a supergroup, basically. Well, not supergroup. They just rotate members all the time. It's a collaborative project, probably a better way of putting it. With Zach Choi being the main frontman, and I think there's, well, it started as a solo project, so yeah, he would be the only consistent member, I suppose. Yeah, they've made some really, really good music over the years. You know, that covers a wide range of music, but they definitely fit in this scene. That my favorite bit of Crack Cloud's music is that compilation album that came out, God, a long time ago. Real long time ago. I think it probably would have been like 2018. That is a fucking brilliant compilation. I think it just compiles 2 EPs of the previous work up until that point. I haven't really got around to listening to their newer stuff. I think I've listened to bits and pieces from Pain Olympics and Tough Baby, and I gave Red Mile a good crack last year, and I enjoyed what I heard. None of it super stuck with me, mainly because I just fucking love their compilation record from 2018 so much, and I'd very much recommend you listening to them. Some of it's not super accessible, so just keep that in mind. Let's do one I haven't really got so much to say about. Sprints. I've listened to a few songs from Sprints, mainly in my like second year of uni. I was listening to a bit of them. Fine. They're fun. Alright. Haven't got much to say about them. Sports Team. Very decisive band, Sports Team, from what I can gather. They're the trust fund babies of the current wave scene, I guess we'll say. They make okay music. They make music for people who like white bread ham sandwiches. I guess we'll put them there. You know, they have some fun, fine songs, like M5 is fine. Yeah, I haven't really listened to anything they made since, like, Gulp. But, you know, they've been making music for a while now, and they're still going at it. So, yeah, I'll give them props there. I'll put them above Sprints, because I do know more Sports Team stuff than Sprint stuff, so. Let's do Working Men's Club. Big fan of Working Men's Club. Very good band. I'm going to have to just put them in B, though, just because I've listened to their self-titled album, and that is it. I think they have a new album since then, and, like, some singles, etc, etc. But yeah, I haven't listened to anything since their self-titled debut, which was very good. Some good, dancey, synthy, punk stuff. Solid B. Not much more to say. The Lounge Society. This is another band that I don't know are still going, but they made some really good music. So I'm going to put them... Hold on, I'm going to do some rearranging real quick. Yeah, okay, Lounge Society. Sorry, I had a fucking stroke then. So yeah, I don't think they're making music anymore. Another band that's kind of just been quiet for a few years. I think this is kind of leads into why I kind of left the scene around 22, 23. Because all of the bands that kind of made it interesting, for me at least, or the ones that I were following, just kind of stopped making music. So I left it, and now, naturally you just move on to new stuff anyway. I still love the scene and how much of an impact it made on me, especially in my time at uni. So anyway, Lounge Society, yeah, they haven't made anything in a while, but I remember when they were dropping their singles, like Burn the Heather, Kane's Heresy, and I did give Tide of Liberty a good shot. There's some really good songs on there, like Blood Money, No Driver. There were a couple more in there that I really liked. They didn't put out an awful amount of music, but in the time that they did, very good band. Let's do Courting. Courting, similarly to Feet, they kind of, I'm not saying that they grew together, but I know when they were kind of hitting popularity, they did a lot of stuff together. So I'm kind of not lumping them together, but I want to talk about them in the same sort of conversation. So yeah, Courting, I got into them with their Grand National EP, which was a great little 4-song ditty. So yeah, you had Grand National, and then their 2020 singles, I think Not Your Man was from 2019 as well. Obviously went back and listened to them. They were pretty good. You know, they're very safe. Just in 22, they came out with a few singles like Tennis, which I listened to and were okay. And they released guitar music, which I listened to, and it was okay. But I kind of got out of the scene at that point. Guitar music didn't really stick with me half as much as like Grand National and the other singles did. And I have not listened to like much since guitar music from this band. I think they come out with a bunch of singles and an album. They had like this whole sword thing. All the promotional images I see, they're always like wearing, holding swords and shit. And I think they're also coming out with a new album again since then, which good for them. They're still making music. I'm sure there's some good stuff in there. I enjoyed the band when I listened to them, so I'm happy to put them in solid B. Alright, let's do Egyptian Blue. They're fine. I think the problem is they kind of fall into a similar category, at least for me, is like Cola. I think Cola's way more popular though. They're just, there's no hook. Band hasn't got that hook, you know, that makes them super like unique. And I feel bad about saying that because they have a few really good songs. They have a few like okay songs, like To Be Felt and Nylon Wire, I think is a pretty big one. And that's the thing, they're just a fine band, they're serviceable. They're just not a super standout act in the pretty bloated scene at this point. Let's do Snapped Ankles. I'm honestly going to put them like here. They've always brought an interesting side to Crankwave. They've got some classics, like I Want My Minutes Back, I'm pretty sure is their most popular song. You got The Evidence, Johnny Guitar, Rhythm Is Our Business, Director's Nostalgia. They've got some really good songs that have spanning quite a long time actually. I think their album Come Play the Trees came out way back in 2017, so they've been around for a while. Yeah, they're just a really solid band that plays a bit of a weird, quaint post-punk. They use a lot of synthesizers and like unconventional instruments in their music making. But you know what? I'm gonna bump them up to A here. Just gonna rejig around some here. Yeah. Okay, Pip Blom. Let's do Pip Blom. They're a solid band. I haven't got too much to say about them. I'm gonna pop them there. Bottom of B. They're a decent band. They got some good tracks. Life. They came out with a few good songs a couple of years ago. I don't think they're still actually making stuff now again. I think their album Popular Music. I'm not sure when that came out. I get the feeling it actually wasn't a few years ago. I think it was actually a really long time ago, like 2017, 18, something like that. They're pretty good. They haven't made music in a while. I think they did come out with one a few years ago. An album that came out a few years ago. I did not listen to it. Yeah, I've only really listened to Popular Music, and it didn't leave a super huge impression on me. But there was a few good songs in it, so I'm quite happy to put them kind of mid to top C there. Let's do Home Counties. So dare I say, and I might piss some people off by saying this, but Home Counties are definitely in their Bricks era. You know, with them bringing in Lois Kelly, she's brought a much more pop/refined sound to the band, and that's definitely a good thing. I do love the pre-Lois stuff, but the new album that came out last year, Exactly As It Seems, was definitely refreshing. I think it's a good evolution for the band. I saw them play in Cardiff last year. I was able to speak with Will and Lois briefly, and they were lovely. They put on a really good gig, so they're great live. Yeah, they're versatile, man, and they've been putting out great stuff all the way since like the redevelopment EP to now, with Exactly As It Seems last year. And I'm excited to see what they continue to come out with, because they're still going very strong. I'm putting them bottom of S. I think they deserve S. They're just such a strong band. Okay, what else we got? Let's do the Bug Club. I keep seeing these two fucking staring at me. So, I like the Bug Club. My girlfriend's really into them, but I do really like them. They're very sweet. They're a very sweet band. I'm quite happy to put them in solid B. I haven't really listened to anything since Pure Particles, which was a fair few years ago now, and I'm sure they've put out a couple albums since then, so. But yeah, from what I remember from Pure Particles, they were a fine enough band. They were great. They were a good time. The Fixer is from that album is a song that's always stuck with me. It's made it onto quite a fair few playlists of mine. But yeah, my girlfriend has good taste, so if she loves them and reckons the rest of their discography is decent, I'm gonna go with her on that one, and I'm happy to put them in the middle of B here. Who have we got? Tropical Foxstorm. This is another one that I think is still making music, but I haven't listened to in a very, 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 very long time. What even was the last album I remember from them? I think it would have been A Laughing Death and Meat Space. It was like fine, but didn't leave a super, super huge impression on me, so I'm just gonna pop them here. But yeah, let me know if I should go back and give their discography another go, because I know a lot of people do like them. They've got a quite big cult following, so maybe I should give them another try. Let's do audiobooks. Audiobooks was one I wasn't sure if I was going to add or not, but I see them kind of lumped in with the whole crankwave movement sometimes, and I get the vibe that they do belong on a list like this. Again, it's a band, it's a duo that I don't know if they're still making stuff, but yeah, they've made some weird music. I remember it was when they released Astro Tough and La 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 It's the Good Life. I remember seeing it. They were performing it somewhere, and I just thought, what the fuck is this? It was just so weird and a bit unnerving when I saw it for the first time. I think you can argue that Evangeline's like whole weird shtick is a little overblown and maybe a little bit too on the nose, but I still find it endearing. The instrumentals are fun. There's a lot of satire in their music as well, which I always appreciate. Yeah, they're just decent. They're just not making too much music at the moment. I don't think they will be. I think they're fully disbanded for now. But yeah, like Friends in the Bubble Bath is a song that that's again, always in rotation for me, so. English Teacher. English Teacher is, they're a sweet enough band. I just haven't listened to them too much. Again, they're a band that hasn't really left a huge impression on me, which I feel a bit bad ranking them so low again, because, yeah, I don't know, I haven't given them the biggest shot, but I think in terms of all of these bands, they're probably one of the newest on here. I think they only recently started making music. Maybe only recently fully released their first album. But yeah, they've got some good songs. I did recently have a little listen to Something Texas. I did have a listen to that a while back. I'm not sure when it came out. It feels like it was a long time ago. I just checked now. It was like early last year. So yeah, it was a fair little bit of time ago. And there were a few standout tracks on that, but nothing really to blow me away yet. I'll happily put them actually in the bottom of B, because they're a band that's early doors yet. And if they keep going, they've got some good potential. So, okay, let's do Bob Vylan. It's a hard one. I'm just going to put him bottom of B, because some of his songs have stuck with me through the years. I don't find myself going back to them all that often. Not much to say there about Bob Vylan. Okay. There's still some big dogs to do here. Let's tackle a big one here. Let's do Sleaford Mods. I don't really like Sleaford Mods. Like, I remember watching an interview for the UK Grim album recently come out, and it was a painful watch. I think it was done by like Joe Politics or something, and like the most criticism you say is like, yeah, country's fucked, government's fucked, and like that's as far as like the criticism went. And I've tried to listen to some of the songs of the album. It's just saying the same shit. I mean, there's an argument to be made that Sleaford Mods aren't a part of the crank wave scene, but I think when he just went after Joe Talbot for no reason, and that was with the whole Spare Ribs album, I think that's when that was happening. They kind of self-imposed himself there. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it because it's a little touchy subject, but yeah, I'm not a big Sleaford Mods fan. I do like some of the older albums though, when I think he kind of actually had something to say of substance, like Austerity Dogs and Divide and Exit. They were great albums. But yeah, Spare Ribs was not that good. UK Grim was fucking just a nothing burger. No, I feel a bit bad putting them below Panic Shack, actually. That's like outrageous. I'll put them there. Panic Shack can go in D. I mean, I feel like I really... Okay, right, this is the thing, right? I respect them culturally, but from public perception, from what I can gather as a person who is just an outsider looking in on the whole idea and public image of Jason Williamson and Sleaford Mods, I feel as if he is a bit of a hack from what information I've been given. You know, I think if you're on an extremely high horse and holding certain things to a certain standard yourself, you also must abide by that standard. And I don't know. Something just doesn't add up, for me at least, with Sleaford Mods as a whole. I think there's a bit of hoodwinking going on. Just not for me. Silverbacks, they're fine. Don't mind Silverbacks. Not much to say about them. They've come out with a few good singles that I enjoy. I might have to give them another go at some point. Yeah, not too much to say about them there. So I'm gonna just speedrun through a few that I don't have too much to say about. Meatraffle, also don't have an awful amount to say. I think besides Ndrangheta Allotment, they have done nothing. But that was a pretty big song, and I listened to it a lot. It's a good song. Yeah, they really haven't come out with much of note, so can't really put them much above. And in the middle is C. Enola Gay, they take themselves quite seriously from what I can gather. But the music is music's decent. Sofa Surfing, Scrappers, I think are their two biggest songs. Those are the ones I remember mainly. Yeah, I'll pop them like middle of C. Bull is a very cute band. I like Bull. I'm happy to put them there. Discover Effortless Living was a good album. I'm trying to think what song got me into them. It's probably either green or stuck that got me into them. But yeah, I haven't listened to Engines of Honey yet. It's been on my radar for a while. That was an album that came out last year from them. But Effortless Living was a great album. Had some songs that stuck with me there. Yeah, they're just a very sweet band that makes a more positive little crankwave scene, I'd say. Which can be refreshing, because there can be a lot of doom and gloom. So we love Bull for that. The Reytons, I don't know if the Reytons fully fit into crankwave, but I kind of see them in the same vein as the Clockworks, which is this band here, which we'll talk about briefly, which they're kind of breaching into like the lad rock, you know, but from what they're really singing about and stylistically, the musically stylistically is very crankwave, and the subject matter of their songs is very crankwave. I think it's just how the band is advertised and put across to people that they have kind of got a little bit of a different audience. But I still don't mind the Reytons. They're good. They've come out with some good songs the other years. I'll put them at the bottom of B here. You know, songs like, I remember when Broke Boys Cartel came out. That was a fun one. A Slice of Lime. It's a really old one, actually. Yeah, they've been around for a long time, but they would have been coming around the exact same time as crankwave was kicking off. I think they just went in a little bit of a different direction. But yeah, I haven't listened to their music since like Kids Off the Estate. I remember there was an album where there was like a guy having a chippy on the front. I remember that album, and I think they come out with a new one since. I haven't fully listened to all that stuff, but they're all the stuff I listened to, I've enjoyed. I think they're a solid band. I'm happy to put them bottom of B, maybe top of C. I mean, we might as well talk about the Clockworks now. I have no clue if they're still making music. I remember like Enough Is Never Enough and The Future Is Not What It Is. Remember when they came out? That was probably like back in 2020, 21. I just checked now. Apparently they came out with a song last October. So yeah, they're still going. Well, I'm gonna bump the Reytons down a little bit. Parquet Courts, they were really big a few years ago. I don't know how big they are now. I remember Wide Awake, that came out. That was a huge album when that came out. But again, they personally didn't leave too much of an impression on me. I think I remember like Total Football and maybe a couple others from that album. They were okay. Just gonna dump them. Middle of C. Do Nothing. I very much like Do Nothing. Yeah, I've been following them for a while now. I can't remember what song it was that kind of put me on their radar. It was either like Handshakes, Gangs, LeBron James, somewhere around there when those singles were kicking off. Yeah, they were really good singles. And then you had like New Life that came out on the $0 Bill EP. I didn't listen to much of Glueland. And then Snake Sideways came out a couple years ago that had songs like Nerve, Happy Feet. Yeah, they're just a solid crankwave band. Not too much more to say there. I'm actually gonna bump them. I'm bumping them there. God, I'm looking at this. We've got some big ones here. We've got some big ones left. Lithics. I think they're like a New York band. I might be completely wrong. I just remember a few songs from them. Happy to kind of just stick them in the middle of C. Not too much more to say there. Folly Group. They're a classic. I just haven't followed them that much. I remember like No Butt Rifle. What was that other one that had like they had a very interesting, it was a very cat earwormy kind of song. Oh, Fashionista. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was, yeah, Fashionista, the Awaken Hungry EP. That's about as far as I went with that band, but they were decent. I just haven't followed them that much, so gonna go see there. Girl band. They're alright. Of course, Lawman is just like, they'll go down as their one-hit wonder. Didn't they come out with an album a couple years ago? I think I listened to it like once or twice when I was in uni, second year of uni, and it didn't super stick with me. I'll put them top of C because Lawman is an absolute classic. Not much more to say there. Okay, Youth Sector is another one that I haven't listened to in a while. So if they've done new music, I remember No Fanfare. They definitely had like a poppier kind of sound side to them. So they didn't leave too much of an impression on me. I remember listening to them back in like 21, and yeah, some of their top singles still make rotation in my playlist, but not much past that. Dead Letter, again, past some of their like top singles, haven't left a super impression on me. Just moving things around a little bit here. A little bit bad putting TV Preist in C, actually. I might have to bump them up, but I do like their albums. Yeah, besides a few singles, again, hadn't left too much of an impression. I'm gonna kind of speed run a few more here. GOA Express, yeah, similar sort of situation. They're a lot more on the indie side. They were sort of a one-hit wonder as well with, what was it? With Second Time. I think they've come out with an album, like a self-titled album. I've not touched that. So, if that is any good, let me know if I should give it a chance. But, yeah. Let's tackle a big one. Oh, I love Keg, man. We'll do Keg. Keg. They're relatively small, but it is insane why they're so small, because they are a brilliant band. Yeah, they're easy, solid A tier for me. Funky post-punk with brass synthesizers. Love it. It's a great band, great vocalist. He's brilliant live. I remember their performance at Green Man 22, I think. Breaking Rocks. I think you can find it on YouTube. Such a good performance. You know, a lot of that comes down to the mixing of some of those live sets at Green Man Festival performances. Oh, they're so good. Like, Home Counties has done one before Lois joined the group. What did they do? I think they did the song Home Counties. I might be wrong, but I remember that one sounding brilliant as well. But yeah, that's where I found Keg back in 22, and they've been one of my top bands for, well, since then. Check out Keg if you haven't already, because they're relatively small. They're probably one of the smaller ones on this list, hands down. So Buzzard, Welsh band, not too much to say. A few singles have stood out to me. Seems like they try and do different stuff, different styles within the whole style genre of crank wave, so we're gonna go with it. What a shit name as well, by the way. Oh yeah, I moved Heavy Lungs out, but considering that C is kind of just the home place for bands that I haven't fully given a try yet, slash ones that I actually am not too keen on, or at least haven't made a super good impression with me. I can't put them in D. I gotta put them in C. Their live performance was just, they're just so goofy. I can't hate them. Public Body, they make nice, digestible post-punk. Not too much to say about them. Stick them like here. And now, unknowingly, I've been left with some big hitters here. There was some big hitters up here that I kind of got through, but there's some poster childs of crank wave here. Black Country New Road. So, if this was like a musical prowess list, they would be top of S, but this isn't that. But I do still really, really like the band. Oh wow, they're actually coming out with new music. I've just checked now. So, for the first time, I remember when For the First Time came out, that was such a fucking good album. I think every track on that album is just such a standout for me. Ants From Up There, I actually didn't listen to all that much. Like, I think Chaos Space Marine was the one that kind of stuck with me the most. But yeah, I find myself coming back to For the First Time a lot more. I mean, when Isaac left the band, it kind of made you think if they were going to keep going or not. And I'm guessing this new single they put out is, well, obviously it's going to be music without him. I haven't listened to it, so it'll be interesting to see how that sounds, because I just didn't know. But from, as I said, For the First Time, brilliant album. For me, I'm going to easily put them middle of A. Very good band. I know people would probably rate them a lot higher. I think a music critic would probably place them at the top of this list without much of a second thought, but I'm not a music critic. I just like music. I just like the music that I like. Okay, who next? Do Squid. Squid, I haven't listened to them in a long time. Shock fucking horror. That's all I've been saying this whole fucking video. I should really say I haven't been listening to their new stuff lately. I kind of haven't really listened to them since, like, Bright Green Field. I remember when Match Bet and Cleaner came out, and Houseplants. God, they were such good songs. I loved them. But yeah, I listened to Bright Green Field a bit. The album as a whole didn't leave too much of a impression on me, but I understand how important they are as a band, and how good their music is. Especially those earlier singles that really got me into the scene. I can attribute, like, Squid and Fontaines and Shame to an extent, and Dry Cleaning. Like, there's a few, but Squid was like there at the start for me, you know. So I'm happy to put them in A. Yeah, I'm happy to put them in A. I will have to do I'll go over the whole list and rejig everything around, and this is where things get hard. Dry Cleaning. Okay. Oh man, this is hard. Okay, so I fucking love Dry Clean. Brilliant band. Been following them since their early EPs. When New Long Leg came out, that's kind of when they really came into their own. Oh. I actually think I've got to put them at the top of so far. Because I'm thinking, like, I've listened to basically everything they've done. And, like, all of it's just good to amazing. Like, none of it's bad. None of it's chaff. They're just such a poignant band that sums up the crankwave movement so fucking well. And Florence is such a good frontwoman as well. She has such a presence. Yeah, I saw them play live again in... when was it, last year? 2 years ago? And they were fucking brilliant live. They're really, really good. One of the better gigs I've been to. Yeah, I gotta put them top of S. Fat White Family. Probably one of the longest running bands on this list. Maybe Sleaford has run a bit longer. Fat White Family have been running for so long, and they continue to say interesting things. Even if I don't always agree with them, they're always saying something interesting, putting it across in a worthwhile way that a band running as long as Sleaford Mods just doesn't do. So, yeah. Leah Saudi, he's a very, very, very divisive frontman. I, on the whole, really like him. He gets up to some antics on his live shows. I've never actually seen them live. I've had the opportunity to see them live a couple times, and it just has lined up that I haven't been able to do it. But they're a band that I would like to see live one day. So yeah, they have so many good albums. Like Champagne Holocaust is just uncompromising. Songs from Mothers I actually haven't listened to all that much. Obviously, Whitest Boy on the Beach is the single off of that, which is a good song. And then you have Surf's Up, which is such a good album. Surf's Up was brilliant when that came out. And I actually haven't listened to Forgiveness Is Yours, because again, I have been out the scene for a little bit. I've just kind of continued to listen to the older stuff from all of these bands. But I've heard their new album is decent, so I should give it a go. But yeah, I'm happy to put them in S tier. They're a fucking good band. Now we're getting to probably the biggest three, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people. The discographies of these bands I've listened to up and down. Let's start with Idols, I guess. Oh, I feel so bad putting them there. I really do. Idols are a great band. They really are. Joy as an Act of Resistance is almost a perfect album. Brutalism, I think, is a little overrated. I understand there's some heartfelt context attached to that album, but it doesn't deter from the fact that it's just kind of not as good an album as I think a lot of people say it is. Ultramono is a fucking bad album. I do not like Ultramono. I have problems with it. A lot of problems with it. When I say it's bad, I think it's like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Like, I want to make an album on Idol's discography at some point, so I'm not going to go too in depth to why I don't like it. But it's just an offensive, dumb album that, yeah, I'm not going to get into it, but it's not good. But they did redeem themselves with their next 2 albums, with Crawler and Tang, which are both really good albums. Yeah, I don't know, there's something about Idols that I understand they are not, they are worthy of some criticism. I know Leah Saudi from Fat White Family has criticized them. Obviously, Sleaford Mods criticized them, and I get the criticism. I really do. But they've just been such an important band to me. And there was a time where I really didn't like them. I remember when it was Joy as an Act of Resistance came out, and I think it's the song I'm Scum. Yeah, it was the song I'm Scum, and the line, "The snowflake is an avalanche." This is when I was in my like punk purist days. I wouldn't listen to like any new bands, and yeah, I remember hearing that line and being like, "This is dog shit," and that is a dog shit line. I've seen them live a couple times now, and each time they don't say "this snowflake's an avalanche," they just say like this scum is an avalanche. Some of Joe Talbot's writing is corny as fuck, and it's kind of can be a bit of a toe curler, but they send such a good and simple message that some people do need a reminding of it. And the music itself is really good. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want music that sounds good, just as much as that it sends out a good message. Sometimes. Yeah. Solid A tier. Fontaines DC. It's gonna have to happen. It doesn't want to happen. Oh man, yeah. This band has been with me for a long time. I remember when Doggerel came out. Again, I was in my punk purist days. I said, fuck that. But when I got out of it, it was around the time their second album came out that I was kind of coming out of that whole mindset. And yeah, Doggerel is just a phenomenal album. I remember seeing them live in 21. One of the best gigs I've ever been to. It was because COVID delayed their 2020 album tour. So they were playing songs from the first 2 albums. And yeah, I just remember being in that gig, just like in a sea of people. And everyone was just so fucking nice. They're really good live. The venue is brilliant. Yeah, that harkens back to like one of my favorite gigs I've ever been to. Oh, I should have mentioned with Idols. I've seen Idols live a couple times, and they're brilliant live. I've seen them in Cardiff, and I've seen them in Bristol. They're brilliant both times. Yeah, that's another reason why Idols is also a very good band. They're very good live. But back to Fontaines. And Skinty Fear came out in 22, I believe. That was a really good album. And then we have Romance, which came out last year, which was extremely calculated. You could tell by the advertising, what their stylists had them dressed up in, that this album was going to go big, and it has gone big. And Fontaines DC, they're basically just a mainstream band now, which I'm happy for. I think my time of being like a diehard Fontaines DC fan has kind of left me a little bit. They were very close to me when I was in uni, back in like 21, 22. I still love Romance. It's a really good album. Yeah, a part of me is, obviously when something's very personal to you and it reaches a much larger audience and a much bigger group of people get involved with it, it's gonna be a weird feeling. But on the whole, I'm very glad they're seeing success. Just maybe wish it wasn't as calculated. And finally, we have Shame. Oh, do I do it? Oh, do I do it? I think I do it. Holy shit, Shame is a good band. They have 3 albums. Every single one offers something different, and they're all fucking brilliant. I don't have much more to say. Like, you have their 2017 Songs of Praise, which was angsty, adolescent rage. Probably, I'd say, if you had to point at one and say it was their weakest, just because of how they were fucking teenagers and they made that album, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm giving them a massive pass because it's still a brilliant album. And then you have Drunk Tank Pink, which sounds like a completely different band. That Hard Clears is probably one of my favorite Crankwave albums, hands down. And then you have Food for Worms that came out in 23. I don't know what to tell you. This was, to be fair, this was an album that had to grow on me. I did not like Food for Worms off the bat, but damn, did it grow on me. Introspective, focuses on the human condition over trying to fucking tackle issues that cannot be tackled with music. I think that's what I do like about Shame, is that they're very much a band that focuses on the human condition over everything else. And Charlie Steen is such a convincing frontman. He's got like the near insanity as Leah Saudi, but he just doesn't need drugs to do it. He just kind of does his thing. And all the singles they put out as well, like This Side of the Sun, Baldur's Gate, brilliant. I think that'll do it. Let's take one last look over this list. We'll start at the bottom. So we have Bilk in D, good. Panic Shack, okay. Wet Leg, yeah. Sleaford Mods, I feel quite conflicted about them as a band, so. TV Priest, I like. I think they just have very good singles, which kind of stand out over their albums. They're also a defunct band. I'll bump them up to bottom of B, feeling nice. They've left a bit more of an impression on me than some of the ones in C. Amyl The Sniffers, bottom of B. I liked, what was it, 2021 album? That Hurts on it. That was a good album. I'm going to bump Pip Blom down a bit as well. Bodega's fine there. Gustaf is fine there. Bug Club is fine there. Courting is... I'll bump Courting up a bit. Hallan is fine there. Wooloo is fine there. Lounge Society is... yeah. Opus Kink needs to be fucking lowered a bit. They're really good. They have made some really good music, but yeah, I don't care for them all that much live. Put Keg up a bit. Lower Wunderhorse a little bit. Down to B. Yeah, I can't really put Feet any higher just because of how bland their music has been the past couple of years. I think that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to bump the Reytons up a bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that list.